and was Italian. The vermouth in the past was not red and not white, was Italian. This was the category. Okay? Italian vermouth was a category. After, we have another category, the French vermouth, that became dry. Because it was more simple to the people to understand the difference between an Italian vermouth and French vermouth. You put on the label dry and sweet. But the vermouth was not sweet because we read before that it was bitter. So the evolution of the vermouth market was made by the marketing, not by the producer. For that, we lose, for almost 70, 80 years, the traditional vermouth was totally disappear. You have to imagine that when we start to produce vermouth in 2011, there was 5, 6 producers, 4 big industrial, and 2, 3 small crafted artisanal producers. Now, I'm really happy because we have almost 20, 25 Italian fine producers that are keep the tradition high. So, the vermouth was not red, and there was not the distinction between the red and white. The vermouth was just one, Italian. But there was a lot of categories. The real vermouth categories was not about the color. It's stupid to make the categories about the color, you know? The categories was about the flavor of the vermouth. There was a huge amount of categories of vermouth in the past that now finish, disappear, are not present anymore. Okay, for example, classic vermouth. Vermouth from Torino. The vermouth from Torino was the highest standard that you can have in Italy. Why? Because in Turin, they did not invent the vermouth. The vermouth, like I said before, was a trip. 2,000 years of evolution of a product. But in turn, they established the standard. Okay? The Carpano family didn't invent the vermouth, but they established the standard. This is the standard quality for the Torino vermouth, and was the best. Was the best vermouth you can have in Italy. So, in this area, Piedmont, that is a magic area because you have a perfect climate. You have the best wine you can have at this time. The best wine you can have in this time you had in Piedmont. You have the best wine for produce vermouth. A really interesting, dry, with a good acidity, really interesting white wine that is called Moscato. So, this was the classic vermouth from Torino. Really bitter, balsamic. This is something that we lost in the vermouth. The balsamic part, like all the herbs and spice that comes from the Alps, the mint, you know, it's really important in a vermouth. And the absinthe, 2, 3 different kind of absinthe blended together. Wormwood, you know. Now there's somebody in the United States that say that you can make vermouth without wormwood. Vermouth is wormwood, you know. How you can make vermouth without wormwood? I know that there's some Americans that say that they can do gin without juniper. But okay, like they are American, you know, like we don't talk too much about. Second category, vermouth from Tuscany. The vermouth from Tuscany was really popular before the vermouth from Turin. If you take one of the oldest books about wine in Italy that is called Enologia Toscana from 1773, you can find, 1773 before 1786, before Carpano, you can find a very nice description about the Tuscany vermouth. What was the difference with the Turin vermouth? First things, it was made just at home. It was not produced by a company by a pharmacist. No, was produced at home. And the drink just during the holiday was a really, really sweet wine, just flavored a little bit with some wormwood. But Tuscan Vermouth was really, really popular in the center of Italy. And this was another category. When the Torino Vermouth starts to be big, cannibalize all the Tuscan Vermouth. And now you can find only one small producer in all Italy of Tuscan Vermouth. So Tuscan Vermouth is almost disappeared. Okay? After you have another categories, that is Vermouth Kinato. Everybody likes Vermouth, but some people like Vermouth more bitter. So what they do, hey, I don't want to lose this part of the market. We will produce another kind of Vermouth. We're going to add some bitter spice. So they had some Kina. In the past, Vermouth Kinato starts to be really, really, really popular because Italians really like the bitter taste. So, look, there's some old bottle of Vermouth Kinato, Vermouth that was also called Amaro. So we have three categories, and not talking about color, but talking about the structure of the product. So the Tuscan Vermouth, the classic Turin Vermouth, and the Kinato or Amaro Vermouth. But more, that was a noble Vermouth. Because you know that you have some rich people that want to spend more money. So you have another categories of Vermouth that was produced using not a classic Muscat wine, but produced using a Barolo wine. So it was called Vermouth al Barolo. Was a specialty. Really, really expensive because Barolo is and was a really expensive wine. So this was another category, producing a Vermouth using a different kind of wine. Not about the color, but about how they produce the Vermouth. This is one of the most interesting categories, and it's called Vermouth al Bitter. Everybody know the cocktail, everybody know, yeah, better than me. Everybody know the cocktail Americano? The cocktail Americano, the cocktail Americano is born after this, after Vermouth al Bitter. Vermouth al Bitter is a vermouth fortified with a lot of different bitter spices. Quina, gentiana, and aloe. Really bitter, okay? And they start to produce this, like you can see, Americano, because also the American taste likes the bitterness. So the Americans like to add bitter to the vermouth. The first Americano that we know is just a vermouth with some bitter inside. There was no Campari at the beginning. The first Americano was just a simple vermouth cocktail, published in 1916, okay? So this is another interesting category, Vermouth al Bitter. So we have 5 categories of vermouth, and nobody's talking about the color. Why? Because the color is not important. The flavor was important. When a market is huge, you try to catch all the market. And the vermouth market was really, really big. We have another category that is the vanilla vermouth. Vanilla is an exotic like spice, you know? Everybody likes vanilla. And, you know, the vermouth with vanilla was really popular. Girls like this kind of vermouth, okay? And this bottle probably reminds you something, okay? Remind you a really popular vermouth, but it's not. This was an old product from the 50s that is called Vanilchina. It's another kind of vermouth. The vanilla vermouth was huge. was really popular. For some periods, in the 40s, 50s, was the biggest category about vermouth. Was really, really big, big, big. So, you see, we have a lot of categories of vermouth, and today we have white and red and pink. Why? Why? Because we start to drink, I don't know, peach vodka, watermelon and mango vodka, and so it's normally, if nobody is drinking anymore vanilla vermouth, Kinato Vermouth, Americano Vermouth, they stopped to produce it. And this happened. They stopped to produce. They stopped to produce this kind of product. So we lose 90% of the vermouth production in Italy. In 80-60, we have almost 500 producers of vermouth. In the 90-70, there was something like 20s. In 90-80s, there was something like 10. So vermouth was almost dead. Really bad. It's really bad because vermouth is really important. But, you know, like now we are talking about cocktail culture. Everybody is talking about cocktail culture. You go in England and you say, oh my God, this is an amazing cocktail culture. You go in United States, super cocktail culture. Now, 10 years ago was horrible. Now it's very good. 10 years ago was, oh my God, everything in the gun, you know, like cranberry juice, Manhattan already doing the gun, so was horrible. But now it's very good. You come to Greece and you see what's happening. This is amazing. I can stay like in Athens for 20 days and go every single night in 3 different crafted bars, and every night I do a different bar because it's amazing what's happening about cocktail culture. Everybody today had a big cocktail culture, but in the past it was not like that. Cocktail culture was so small because, you know, because Greek, like Italian, we like to drink ouzo on the beach, no, not ouzo on the beach, a drink, like ouzo sitting in front of the beach, with some olives, like Italian. Italian was exactly the same. We like to have a beer, we like to have a glass of wine, but also the difference with the Italian is why the Italian cocktail culture started so late.